All right. So North Carolina is extremely unique. I think Texas and maybe West Virginia are the other two states that kind of have this similar model. But in North Carolina, the research stations fall under the Department of Agriculture as opposed to the land-grant university. So if you look at this map, there are 18 stations scattered across the state. 12 of those stations are owned and operated by North Carolina Department of Agriculture. 6 of those stations are under the umbrella of NC State University. It's a fantastic partnership that we share. My counterpart at the university, Dr. Lauren Fisher, and I have known each other since undergrad. We've spent a lot of time working together. We have a fantastic relationship between the land-grant university, NC State, and North Carolina Department of Agriculture. So if you look at this map, you can't really differentiate which station belongs to which entity, and that's by design. For continuity purposes, we try to keep those lines very fuzzy because we want to keep those project leaders doing their work on all research stations respectively, regardless of who owns and operates the station. So that's why if you look at the stations, it's very important for me and for Dr. Fisher that you can't differentiate between who is the owner of those particular stations. It's a fantastic partnership that we have. The other really neat thing, and I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, the other really neat thing about North Carolina agriculture and our research stations, you can see how diverse they are in terms of geography. We have our mountains, our Piedmont, and our coastal plain. And what makes North Carolina so unique is if you go to research station number 14 and say you're a small grain project leader, you're looking at winter hardiness, disease pressures, those sorts of things, you can go to station number 14, which has the same climate zone as northern Pennsylvania. You can drop down to station number, it's supposed to be number 14, but I think on here it looks like number 11. If you go to number 11, that's a very droughty soil. It's very sandy. It's more similar to northern Florida and southern Georgia than it is North Carolina. So if you're a small grain project leader in North Carolina, you can drive 3 hours from our land-grant university and you can do winter hardiness trials like would be similar in Pennsylvania. And you can do those same trials in drought soils that would be similar to Florida and Georgia. And you can do that in a 3-hour drive from the land-grant university. That's pretty impressive. I don't have to tell this crowd that, again, North Carolina agriculture is the #1 industry. I think my slide may be wrong. We're at over $103 billion in economic impact. We rank #1 in a number of commodities, including flue-cured tobacco, sweet potatoes, all poultry, and I'm going to argue this point. So we say that we're second in Fraser fir production. I'm going to argue and say that we're #1 in Fraser fir production. I think our farmers just do a very poor job of keeping those numbers and reporting those acreages because the #1 county, which is Clackamas County, Oregon, claims to be the #1 producer of Christmas trees in the United States, but I've been there. They don't have near as many trees as we do. So I'm going to say that we are also #1 in Christmas trees. So if you guys will give me just a moment of personal liberty, I'm going to tell a story about why I think research is so important. And I think once I finish with the story, you'll understand. So my grandmother was born in 1913. And the year that she was born, they farmed with the almanac. Everybody remember the almanac. They planted by the moon signs. They harvested by the moon signs. They planted with mules and horses. And my sweet grandma had a wonderful long life. She lived almost 102. And the year that she died, we were using autonomous GPS-guided tractors with variable rate technology. The year she was born, the national corn yield was about 18 to 20 bushels an acre. The year she died, Randy Dowdy hit 500 bushels an acre in South Florida. So we made these tremendous, incredible advancements in agriculture in one person's lifetime. And how did we do that? We did that by research. This is another slide that is so important to me because, again, this illustrates the importance of research. So when we see this slide, we think growth hormones, steroids, antibiotics, right? Well, all of us in this room know that that's not true. That's not been a thing for many, many decades. What I see when I see this picture is years of selective breeding and research to find the most efficient animals, the most growthy of those animals, so that we can feed a growing population. Has absolutely nothing to do with growth hormones, steroids, and antibiotics. It's research. So I'm going to talk briefly about all of the cool and fascinating things that we're doing on research stations today. We have so many wonderful projects going on that you guys help to fund. I can't begin to tell you how thankful I am for the support of the folks in this room for advancing the success of agriculture. And this is just one example. So I talked about the poultry industry. So many, many decades ago, the poultry industry figured out to an exact science feed efficiency on birds, on broilers, right? We know exactly how many pounds of feed it takes to convert to 1 pound of meat. Poultry and pork figured this out a long time ago. The beef industry has lagged behind for decades. We just finished with our very last structure that will now put us ahead of every other state in the nation in learning about beef cattle feed efficiency. So what you're looking at here is called our Vitelli GrowSafe system. It is a passive data collection system. Each animal has an RFID tag. When the animal goes to the feed bunk, there's computers underneath that rail. So when the animal goes to the feed bunk, there's scales underneath the feed bunk. The computer identifies that animal, and then it deducts the amount of feed from the total weight. So we know exactly how much feed each animal consumes 24 hours a day for the duration of the trial. And if you notice, there are no people with pencils and papers there collecting the data. So we're collecting data passively without labor 24 hours a day on feed efficiency for cattle. We're really proud of this. Up until 2 weeks ago, we were not the leader in the nation, but as of 2 weeks ago, when we opened our brand new facility that you see here on the left, this put us, we now have more usable Vitelli GrowSafe systems than any other land grant or research platform in the nation, and we're really proud of that. This is my superintendent there at the Umstead Beef Unit, and he's actually giving an article. He's doing an article on how this Vitelli system works and the importance of what this data is going to mean to the beef industry. This is an interesting piece of that Vitelli GrowSafe system. So most years in the Southeast, we don't really have to worry about water, right? Water is a commodity that's very plentiful in the southern United States. This year is not so much. But if you go to other parts of our country and other countries, water is a scarcity. Water is rationed. So one thing that we have never really been able to evaluate is water efficiency in animals. So if you think about the fact that we have to feed a growing population year after year, we have to figure out how to feed the population with fewer resources, fewer acres of land, fewer pounds of nitrogen, fewer gallons of water. It's important for us to find those animals that are not only feed efficient, but we need to identify those animals that are feed inefficient. And that's what that program is going to, that's what that does. That's what this little picture illustrates. There's a water system under there that's got flow meters. Each time the animal goes to the water, it has to step on a scale. We know exactly how much water that animal consumes. So that segues into another really cool project that we're doing on research stations, a water farming project. How many people remember the few little hurricanes that we've had over the last decade? So in the eastern North Carolina, I've been one of those that went to the dairy and milked cows by boat because of the Neuse River escaped its banks and the entire county there around Goldsboro flooded. This particular project is looking at flood mitigation strategies to ensure that we can come up ways to reduce the effects of devastating floods, hurricane related or whatnot. We all know that there's lots of houses, lots of developments, lots of parking lots that increase the movement of water. the impermeable surfaces are, becoming very rampant. So this particular project is looking at ways to capture rainwater and use that effectively in an agronomic setting. So what you're looking at here is a 2-acre water retention pond or a flood mitigation structure. Every single drop of water that enters that pond, we can calculate. We know exactly how much water is in that pond, whether it falls from the sky, whether it's pumped in from a well. We know exactly how much water is there. Even if there's a rainfall event, we can calculate the amount of water that runs into that structure from the field. So we can capture the water during a rainfall event to keep it from going into the streams to create a flood event downstream. We can also utilize that water for irrigation purposes on cropland when we're experiencing a drought, such as what we're experiencing right now. This project was funded, and the name now escapes me, but this project was funded. It's being conducted through NC State University with some USDA collaborators. What they hope to do is find some practices that we can send out to farmers in the area, to homeowners, to developments, to help identify mitigation strategies for flood events. So we're really excited about this project. It has just been completed this year. So this will be the first year that it's in operation. Very excited about this project. So the way that we utilize this water from this flood mitigation structure is through smart irrigation. And what I mean by smart irrigation, we've been able to install some smart linear systems, and these smart linear systems are completely Wi-Fi controlled. So if there's a prescription for an amount of water that needs to be put on a commodity in a research project, the superintendent at that station can program that information into his phone, and he can start and stop the irrigation just with his cell phone. In years past, when we had to irrigate crops and test plots, it was 2 or 3 days with 2 or 3 people babysitting the equipment. Today, it takes one person with their cell phone to run our irrigation. It's tremendous. This is another really interesting, cool project that we're working on at our Clinton Research Station. Everyone in this room knows that sweet potatoes are a very important commodity in our eastern part of the state. We do have some challenges with the sweet potato industry. There's a little thing called the guava root knot nematode. It's a big problem. There's some additional issues that we've got to work through, and all of these things that we're working through are new issues, right? So this particular facility is a brand new storage facility with multiple storage rooms. You can see these are cool storage rooms. So we can actually do different research projects on post-harvest storage of the sweet potatoes in that area, so that we can ensure that we've got a quality product that can be exported to other countries, because people do want our North Carolina grown sweet potatoes. So it's our job to ensure that we have all of the information available to keep the farmers profitable and sustainable. So this is just a picture of the germplasm that lives at the Clinton Research Station. All of the germplasm for the sweet potato breeding and genetics program lives in that building. What you see in this picture is an invaluable amount of genetic material. So the next great thing, the next great variety that's resistant to all of these problems is probably sitting right inside that building. And we're really excited to think that we have that. And because of the help of folks in this room, we've been able to secure this structure with a generator and all of the necessities to make sure that it's successful. I'm really excited about our precision ag. I talked about my grandmother's life, and they farmed with the mules and the plows. Well, today on any of my research stations, you can go and see precision ag planting happening as you go today. If you wanted to go today, you could see precision ag being implemented in these fields. So on our stations, we have the ability to do GPS auto steer. We have people in the tractors, but the tractors are completely autonomous. And they can plant, they can spray, they can do all of these different things based on a prescription that was written prior to them going to the field, sent to the satellite, and then back to the computer. It's pretty amazing when you think about saving resources, because we're only applying what needs to be applied at that particular spot. We've come a long way. This is an example of what the inside of the cab of the tractor looks like for that particular planter. So just by a quick show of hands, how many have planted in single row and twin row and changed row spacing when you're planting corn or soybeans? I think there's a few in here. So when you had to do that, when you had to change your row spacing and populations, it meant going to the shop and getting equipment, tools, changing out gears and cogs. Not today. Because with the push of a button, we can go from single row to twin row. We can change populations by just clicking a button on that monitor. It's pretty cool. What we do is pretty cool. We've been able to purchase a lot of new equipment on research stations. As I said earlier, I've been on research stations for 30 plus years. I came through a time where we didn't have a lot of excess resources. True story, I would have to go to the landfill to dig through the old trailer tires to find trailers because we couldn't afford to put tires on trucks. So I came from that era where we did without to be in the era that we are today. And I'm going to give thanks to Caleb Rathbone for helping with that. But today, we've got the most advanced fleet that we have ever had in research stations, and I am really excited that we've been able to become current with the equipment that we have. And we have taken advantage of some purchasing power that we never had before. Under state term contract, particularly with Deere, if you purchase multiple units, you get units for free. So, for example, in the early days, we learned that if you buy 3 tractors at a certain price, you get the 4th one free. So buy 3, get 1 free. It's a pretty cool deal. Also, the equipment gets a piece of Allied, which in this particular slide is a hay wrapper. So for every tractor that I could buy on state term contract, they would actually allow me to purchase an implement as an allied piece under state term contract. So we were able to take advantage of a little bit of money and do a lot of good. And I'm very proud of that. As a matter of fact, my superintendents last year called me the tractor princess, and I said, don't call me that, don't call me that. Call me the equipment czar, and it stuck. So today I have the title of equipment czar because I've been able to have fun purchasing all of these tractors that I know Caleb wanted to do back in his day as research stations director. So it has been a fun few years of bringing my stations current, and we've had a lot of good times and seeing happy faces when new paint shows up on my stations. And I promise I'm getting close to the end. This is the final, what does that say? This is my final topic. I am based in the Northwestern Mountains at the Upper Mountain Research Station. As most of you know, that is Fraser Fir country. That is the Fraser Fir capital of the United States as far as I'm concerned. But there are problems with the Fraser Fir industry like there are with every other industry. If 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if you wanted to buy Fraser Fir, you had to go collect seed in one of the wild locations, and you had to send it to a guy in Pennsylvania to get the seed processed. Then they sent the seed to the Pacific Northwest to be grown into seedlings and then shipped back to North Carolina with all their diseases. So we pitched this problem to Commissioner Troxler, and we were really we were passionate about keeping all of that at home, the seed production, the seedling production, everything. And he gave us the latitude to be able to write grants to get what you see here. And this is our new seed center at Upper Mountain Research Station. This is a state-of-the-art Fraser Fir seed processing center. Now, if you're a corn grower and a soybean grower, there are volumes of information about how to collect seed and germinate seed and store seed on corn and soybeans. None of that exists for the Fraser Fir industry. So we are literally writing the book as we go. There is no information for us to pull upon to learn. So what you see going on in this building is is absolutely astounding because this work has never been done before. There is not one single Fraser fir seed on the planet that is certified except the seed at the Upper Mountain Research Station, so we're extremely proud of that. This is just an example of the progeny out of the seed, out of our seed orchard that is probably the 25 most elite families of Fraser fir in the world. And these are the seedlings that we have generated from the first crop of seed produced at the Upper Mountain Station. We're really proud of that, and we hope to be able to empower all of our growers in that area to be able to utilize this seed from improved genetic material for production on their farms. So with that, I will ask questions or entertain questions from the floor.
Teresa, thank you for that. Are there any questions? Okay, hang on one second. Representative Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that presentation and your great work. There has been discussion in the past about closing down some of these agricultural resources stations, but it looks like y'all are doing really important work. And is that rumor gone? Is that, I mean, are we going to face those threats again?
So what you're referring to is the PED that was around 2005, 2006 era. I was right in the middle of that. It was a very scary time. Having been on stations, I knew the importance of the work that we were doing. It was important that we articulated what we were doing to the people that mattered because we knew we were doing great work. Funding obviously was an issue, but we had a lot of the commodity groups rally around the stations to say, you know, we have to fund these stations because they really are the future of agriculture. I go back to the analogy of my little grandmother. If we don't do research, how do we feed a growing population on fewer acres of land, fewer gallons of water? It's going to be impossible unless we do good research.
I think I had Representative Butler.
I just wanted to acknowledge what a great presenter you are. We were all very just thoroughly engaged. These gentlemen, I haven't seen all four of them smiling at the same time in a long time. It was something to see. And I also said, boy, whoever put that lady in that job knew what they were doing. You are the right person for that job. Thank you for coming today.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'll just reiterate on that. I've known Teresa for a long time, and she's a go-getter. She's a worker, y'all. She really is, and she's done a great job, and we're glad to have her. Any other questions from the committee? I do not see any. And I don't know. You can do. All right, Representative Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Deb, thanks for that. And one of our desires is to educate the members of this committee on a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to produce the food and fiber that we need to remain a free nation. And so I thank Representative McNeely for putting this together. It was his idea, and we're grateful to him for bringing this forward. And there will be others. And by the way, if the committee members have suggestions for presentations that you would like to see on any of these topics, please let us know, and we'll do our best to incorporate them.
I just